Let's move you to Limpopo now, where many prospective tertiary students are lining up at different institutions of higher learning. This is in anticipation of registering for their first year at varsity or TVET college. Let's bring in SABC News reporter Katlego Nyoni, who's watching the story for us. Katlego, thank you for your time. So how are things going at the University of Limpopo this morning?
Certainly, good morning, Go, and to our viewers as well. What we have seen is that registration at the University of Limpopo commenced last week for first entering students. The university management, the registrar there, Professor Kwenamasha says 40% or so of the first entering students have been processed and accepted. We know that the University of Limpopo received well above 200,000 applications for first entering students, but can only accept 4,900 or so of those first entering students. Some of the streams at the university are on demand, like B.Ed. They are on demand. However, the university says it would like to see more and more students enroll for sciences as well as agriculture. 90% of returning students have also been registered, and their classes resumed on Monday. In less than 2 weeks' time, classes for first entering students will resume. Meanwhile, at the University of Venda in Thohoyandou, the university has processed about 2,300 first entering students since the start of registration. They will only take about 3,600 first entering students. Both universities in Limpopo have also cautioned students to be aware of scams, of people that might be attempting to swindle them of their registration money. Well, this morning, we are at the University of Limpopo just to see what the situation is. At both institutions, rather, it is a system of online registration. We saw at the University of Venda on Tuesday, some 900 or so students had to reapply for courses after the online system rebooted their initial applications. But at the University of Limpopo, I'm going to have a conversation with the SRC president, that is the Kujo Mamabolo of the EFF Student Command. Thank you very much for your time on SABC News. Kindly take us through what have you been observing since the beginning of the registration, particularly for first entering students.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having us. Well, the observation in our institution is that people who are mainly struggling are first entering students who have no thorough knowledge of how the online works. But when it comes to returning students, we've seen them being able to transition through this thing of registering online. They've been fairly able to register, but there are still some other challenges that we're experiencing in the institution. The number of students who are coming in for the first time that we are seeing is not really satisfactory in our opinion. And it is a fallacy to say that over 90% is registered so far. There are still many other students who are academically excluded, and that is what we want to be able to address at the moment.
Let's talk to that financial exclusion, the matter pertaining to students whose allowances for NSFAS, have not necessarily been processed. What is the situation on this campus? Are you still having students whose applications for the National Financial Student NSFAS rather have not been processed?
Absolutely. You recall that NSFAS closed its applications yesterday. And it is a serious problem for us because normally NSFAS would close their applications well before December so that they can be able to process the applications. And when students come into the system for the first time, their applications are dealt with. So what about a student who applied yesterday and this person is expected to be registered by now? Obviously, the processes are not yet completed. And that is why the thing comes in, the issue of academic exclusion. That is where we want to be able to make sure that the students who are not financially catered for are ultimately having their needs addressed by us as the SRC and the university management. NSFAS has been a serious problem for a very long time, and now they are making matters worse. Instead of trying to come up with a mode that is going to ensure that students apply and their application statuses are done well on time, allowances are paid on time, they are deriving this mode now of saying that applications must be closed just a day ago. This is going to be a serious problem. By the time they are done, many students would be starving. Classes are commencing now. First year students are going to be starting with their classes next week. Returning students have already started with their classes. So it's a serious problem for us. We want a new mode of NSFAS that is going to ensure that it is student-based, a mode that is going to say that all student needs must be catered for before we can even implement any other thing.
And Kujo, we saw the University of Limpopo issuing out a pamphlet to warn students against cybercrime during the registration drive. Yeah. We've also had some rumors of individuals masquerading as officials of the university in an attempt to try and scam vulnerable, especially first entering students of their registration money. Have you heard anything along those lines?
Absolutely, and we've had a number of engagements with the university management regarding that. They even gave us that particular responsibility of bringing to their attention these people if we do find them. And we can report that about 2 days ago or so, we saw someone who was stationed outside of the gate wearing a reflector, portraying to be someone who works for the institution. We managed to set that person up when we successfully captured them and handed them over to the authorities. These people are taking advantage, but we also want to blame the institution in this regard because the institution is saying that people must register online. Some people are still panicking. Some people don't know how to transition through this thing of online, and they are coming to campuses. That is where they are vulnerable. So the university itself must also ensure that it has people who are stationed outside of the gates. Much as they are saying that the system must be online, they must also have its own personnel here because we are not paid by the institution. We don't work for them. We are here to assist students. But you can only go as far as trying to look at these people. But they must have people who are competent and well-resourced in terms of how they can be able to train these particular people to ultimately capture them. We saw an individual, we captured him, and it is beyond any reasonable doubt that that person is one of the people who are scheming people here. But we want to caution students and warn them. It is only the SRC and other people who are associated with the SRC who are able to assist students. No one else outside of the investigation. They must not be seeing people here who portray themselves to be people who are working for the institution and just fall for that particular thing. They must ask for names. They must look at the kind of association that this person is associated with before they can even go further in terms of doing any other thing. The SRC will never ask for money from any other person. Money must be paid into the university account, and that is when we will be able to assist this particular student when they paid. In the event that they are not using NSFAS, of course. So once you've paid, you take the money to the institution. We then help you on how you can be academically cleared for you to be able to proceed with the registration.
Just a brief one. Do you know if this particular individual, any case has been opened against them, the one that was attempting to scam students?
Unfortunately, we don't, and we're very disappointed because when we took the person to the security personnel of the campus, we told them that this person is working with someone from admin building. But unfortunately, the matter has not been taken forth. But we still early. We are still going to give them that benefit of the doubt. But we're going to follow up on this matter to ensure that the person that he works with is ultimately held to account because they are the ones who are portraying a wrong image of the SRC, saying that the University Student Representative Council is the one that is doing all these things. Whilst it is just random individuals outside of the gate. So we want the person who's stationed at admin building to be the one to be held accountable. That person is working with someone within the institution. We are going to follow up that particular matter. We want to ensure that that person is terminated from working for the University of Limpopo. They are destroying this institution. They are destroying our reputation as the SRC, and we don't want them to be associated with us anymore.
Kucho, thank you very much for your time on SABC News. That's the SRC president and Kucho Mamabolo of the EFF Student Command saying that there was an individual who was seen outside the campus wearing a reflector trying to scam students, and that person was handed over to the security personnel inside the campus. The university on Tuesday mentioned that they have beefed up their security and are working hard to ensure that students are safe and they do not fall victim to such traps. Meanwhile, the university also announced that there are plans to sort of increase capacity in terms of its accommodation facilities on campus. There is a project estimated at about 1.6 billion that has been announced by the university that is estimated to take about 3 years to complete. Nko?
And Katlego, this also comes at a time where students are also being encouraged to explore other avenues, i.e. your TVET colleges. What are you getting there where you are? Is there an appetite for people to pursue TVET colleges? And of course, is that institution allowing any walk-ins? Because we've seen over the past few days in some institutions, students have been going there for walk-ins, which have been highly discouraged. Talk to us about that.
Well, certainly, walk-ins have been discouraged, yet we see on a year-to-year basis students flooding these TVET colleges in an attempt, of course, to find space. The biggest challenge for the TVET colleges, particularly in Limpopo, we've got big institutions like the Capricorn TVET. They have announced that there is a challenge in terms of capacity. They have received well over 22,000 applications for those who want to study first year in different streams, but can only accept, and listen to this, about 700 from over 22,000 or so applications that have been received. And that is just for one campus. The Capricorn TVET College has got about 4 campuses spread out throughout or nearby Polokwane, but they can only accept a limited number of students. Some of the students that we interviewed, that I personally spoke to, mentioned that their NSFAS for example, applications are still pending, and matters pertaining to their registration are also hanging in the balance. So while there is an appetite by some to go and learn some of these skills at TVET colleges, challenges like NSFAS applications, like capacity still persist for them. Nko?
All right, Katlego, Nyoni, let's leave it here for now. Thank you very much indeed for that update.